So let's talk about how to access servers securely. Most commonly, what you're going to be using is something called SSH or Secure Shell. So we want to switch to using SSH instead of Telnet. And that's because Telnet is insecure for two reasons, guys. One of that is the session's unencrypted, okay, which means everything, including username and password, are transmitted as clear text. Second, an open Telnet port is one of the first places a cracker will try to connect to. So SSH provides encrypted and compressed connections and provides substantially more security than Telnet connections. You can run an SSH server, which is going to allow incoming secure connections, as well as a client for outgoing secure connections under links. And guys, I really don't know anyone that uses Telnet, okay, for this specific reason that everything's in clear text. You're pretty much always going to be using SSH for any type of administration you're going to be doing, okay? Let's talk about physical security here, okay? And these may seem obvious, but these are good things to know. So first one is that if you have a server room, make sure it's locked up every time you enter and exit. Set up surveillance inside the server room so you can see who is in there and messing with things. Make sure the most vulnerable devices are in that locked room, so anything that you don't want being tampered with, make sure you have it in the room that's locked. Use rack mount servers. Don't forget the workstations, okay? And you want to pack up any backups you have, okay? And you also disable drives that you're not using, okay, or when they're not in use, okay? So now let's talk about the network security. So we've talked about kind of system security, physical security. Now let's talk about network security. So there are two schools of thought when it comes to creating firewall rules. Okay, the first one is going to be that you just allow everything by default and then restrict access to certain ports and applications, okay? This is almost always the way firewalls are set up, as it's the easiest way to set up and maintain, okay? Allowing all by default is nice for system admins because everything just works and there are no user complaints to deal with, all right? That's perfect world, though. There is another way we can do it, and the other method is setting up firewalls to deny all incoming and outgoing traffic by default and only allow approved traffic through by creating exceptions, okay? This is a much better way to do it, but requires a lot of thought and planning on which types of traffic you're going to do. So you can allow everything, okay? And then you can just restrict certain ports and applications. So it says let everything get through, but on these ports don't let things through, and then these applications aren't allowed through. Or you can say don't let anything through, and we're going to only allow specific applications and ports and programs exceptions. We're going to do that one by one for each one, saying this one specifically can come through, okay? And as you can imagine, this does take a lot of planning and thought process. So let's talk about some security tools that we can use. We can use Wireshark, Nmap, malware and antivirus scanners, Snort, Nikto, Metasploit framework, Nessa's vulnerability scanner, and Linux-based security distros, okay? And guys, feel free to look any of these up, okay? You can just do a quick search engine search for these and just kind of read into them, okay? A lot of these are networking ones, like Wireshark allows you to trace packets. Same with Nmap, okay? Antivirus scanners aren't something that are used on Linux too often, but you will run into them occasionally. Alright, so we talked about port probing and port knocking a little bit earlier, but let's go and talk about port probing with Nmap. Okay? So Nmap is a must-have security scanner. It analyzes raw IP packets and then provides details about the live host and the network, along with their banner information, ports, services, and versions running. Any unintentional open port on the target system can be detected by the tool and necessary actions can be taken. So there's two different versions of Nmap available, a command line interface one and a GUI interface, guys. Okay, so the command line one is probably what you want to stick with, right? We want to get comfortable with using that command line. Or we can use the GUI graphical version one, which is going to be ZenMap. So while both essentially have identical function, the GUI version has inbuilt scan files that can readily scan the target.